breeze. Cali in the summer breeze. Out here in Cali, from the beach to the valley, we doing it right, we keeping it tight. Out here in Cali, from the beach to the valley, we doing it right, all day and all night. Are you ready?
I hope so, because if not, maybe you should shut your computer off right now. Welcome, everybody, to Inside the Rut MX Podcast. My name is Kenny Watson, and I am your host. Before we get started, I just want to say thank you to everyone that made this possible.
Team Elite, general contracting, residential or commercial construction, and all of your landscaping needs. They've got it covered. Team Elite has over 30 years of combined experience to get your project done right. Visit EliteTeamOffices.com for more details and tell them Inside the Rut sent you. They will exceed your expectations. Cocopah Casino and Resort, located just outside of Yuma, Arizona. Headed to the river, Lake Havasu, or to Phoenix from San Diego? Well, it's on your way. Make a pit stop. Headed to Glamis? Make a short detour. Stay and play. For more information, visit their website, cocopahresort.com. That's COCOPAH resort.com. Ron's In Your Ear Audio, located in Havasu City, Arizona, taking care of all of your audio and electronic installation. They do gel coats, alarm installations, and shrink wraps. They also take care of any fiberglass needs. If you're in the area, stop in and see their showroom. Visit ronsinyourEaraudio.com and tell them Inside the Rut sent you. They'll take care of you. X Brand. Searching for goggles? Search no further. Go to xbrand.com. That's EKSbrand.com and enter in the promo code ITR48 for 30% off. Works Connection for all of your two-wheel needs. Works Connection has the products you need. Go to worksconnection.com. Hart & Huntington Tattoo, located in Las Vegas, Orlando, Niagara Falls, and Nashville. If you're in any of these areas, stop in and tell them Inside the Rut sent you. Guts Racing. Guts Incorporated has been providing high-quality, high-performance seat covers and foam since 1990. Visit gutsracing.com to view their selection and use discount code ITRMX30 for 30% off. For direct links to our sponsors' websites, visit our website, itrmx.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Today's guest is a longtime icon of the sport. He's been around the sport for over 40 years. He's been in the trenches. Like him or not, our guest tonight, Mr. Bevo Forti. How you doing, Bev?
I'm doing just great. I mean, I'm happy and really excited to be on your show. I'm been doing this for 45 years, and I'm glad to see that someone really thinks I may know something.
Yeah, well, I was kind of shocked that I went and did a little research, believe it or not. And I really haven't heard you do any of these podcasts, and there's a few of them out there. I don't know, maybe if you've done DMXS in the past, but there's a couple other ones out there, and I know you haven't done those, so it's an honor to have you on. I know that you have a lot of history from being a mechanic and working on the brand side, knowing the value of the industry, and I just wanted to chat a little motocross with you and talk a little shop and see where you see the state of racing now compared to and the growth of it throughout the year, because I know you've been there since the start of it all. So first and foremost, I would go ahead. Sorry to cut you off. I shouldn't do that.
Well, Kenny, I started out back in my first bike was a 1970 Savage. I believe that's a little older than you are, but it's been a great run, and it's unbelievable where it is today.
Yeah. So when you got your first motorcycle, what was there, a club that you went and raced at, or was that when they had scrambles, or what was it like when you got your bike? Was it like a street bike that you had to take all the stuff off of, or was it a motocross bike?
Well, let me put it this way. I come from a old Italian family, and they really didn't want me to have a motorcycle, and I really didn't get one till I was able to buy my own. And at that time, it was a Suzuki Savage, and you were correct. What you did was you took all of the lights off of it, and you stored them in and you put different fenders on, and hopefully when you sold it, you put it all the stuff back on to sell it as a basically a street and trail bike. But and obviously when I started, the first day I got my motorcycle, I went up to the coal banks here. I'm from the coal region, and I bumped into this little kid named John Savitsky. And obviously, at the end of the day, my I didn't get a chance to take everything off. At the end of the day, my headlight was broke, my tail lights were off, and I had a busted knee. So that was my first day of riding a motorcycle, and that's when I met John Savitsky, who I traveled for 5 years as a privateer mechanic with him.
Well, saying that, and I'm pretty sure, like the rest of us, with the passion that we had, even at a young age, that you were probably back out there the next day doing the same exact thing, probably dinged up your other knee.
Yeah, that's how it was. I was one of those guys that worked on construction and would get laid off. And when I would be not working, I was riding a motorcycle. So I had a lot of time in the woods. And at that time, the only real race bikes were European bikes. They weren't the Japanese weren't in the racing when we first started. In fact, the first bikes we ever raced were Bultacos. And I'll give you a funny story about our dealer. Our dealer was Bob's Bultaco, and he had a little garage in the back, and that's where the shop was. And in the front, it was Miller's Funeral Home. So he had to be. Sometimes we'd answer the phone and say Bob's Bultaco, and they go, "Well, I have the oh no, Miller's Funeral Home." So it was quite a different era back then.
So there was only one phone line?
Oh yeah, only one phone line, of course.
We're talking about PA. Okay, I got
We're
you.
talking about Valley View, Pennsylvania, population like 45.
Right on. Okay, so after when you got your first bike and you were doing your thing, when did it turn the corner when you said, you know what, I'm going to go with John and be a mechanic because I don't think my riding career is really going to go where it needs to?
Well, it took me about well, obviously he wasn't old enough to be a professional, so we just hit the local races around our area. And the funny part about it is one day we look in an AMA magazine, and he's ranked fourth on the East Coast in the 125 class. And after that, then our Taco dealer really got more serious with us to race. In fact, the first time he ever raced against any professional was at a Gary Bailey school, and he ended up beating Gary the next day. But obviously, we're on our home course, so we knew it. We knew the course well. So it took about 5 years. I won one race. I think it was like a girl and two guys in my class, and I won. And that's when I figured I hit the top of my riding career and decided to be a mechanic and traveled the circuit, like I said, with Savitsky for 5 years, uh, working as a privateer mechanic.
What year would that been?
Oh, that was, I think our first race was 1973, and it was at the Pocono Raceway. And to show you how naive we were, we went up there and we wanted to race. We raced the 125 and 250 class locally, so we went up there to sign up for two classes. So, and Jimmy Weinert's there, and at that time, Kawasaki had to start putting a team in, and it was pretty incredible. The AMA person looks at us and goes, uh, "Excuse me, you can only race one class here," and our number was 173U. But it was pretty exciting because Sabitsky, and we walked out of there. He had like a seventh overall, and then we went to the next national. And we got like a sixth or seventh overall again, and another like three nationals were in the top 10. Unfortunately, at that time, everyone was coming out of Saddleback. If you wanted Saddleback, you got a factory ride immediately because obviously it was underneath all of the Japanese factories' radar.
Was he riding a bull
And
taco?
oh yeah, yeah, we were riding a bull taco, and it was pretty cool. Back then, if you rode a European bike, most of the privateers did, and if it would rain, all the European bikes would finish the race because the Japanese were so new at it. They'd all suck water through the air boxes, and it was pretty interesting.
What was the year that like Kenny's Art was like a factory bull taco rider?
It was the same time we were around the 74, 75, in around there.
Yeah, that's like
It,
I was. That's my like first like remember. That's the first time I really remember. I remember going to Super Bowl of motocross with my dad, being super
uh,
young, and seeing him there. And
Kenny, come on, you weren't that young. Come on, that makes me 150.
no, I was probably like 6 or 7. You know,
Right, right.
so I just remember this guy, and he was on a blue motorcycle, and he had super long hair, and he had his shirt off, and he was super tan, and he had all the girls around him. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow. And then I thought he had a lot of girls around him. And then I walked by the Honda truck and I got to see Marty Smith. And by
Oh
that,
yeah.
then I was like, okay, I see the difference now. To my dad, I was like, that's the guy right there. But
Well, at that time, it was really speaking about Marty Smith and the factory presence at that time. We were in Mid Ohio one year at a 125, and and Honda had like four different works 125s for him to try that weekend.
wow.
Yeah, I mean, and when we had Zart was on our race team, and Ronnie Pomeroy, and Bultaco had this fifth wheel, basically a horse trailer, and it was painted up with a Twipple Bultaco on it, and we did the Trans Am, and with Vic Allen it was, and Ben Alberg, and Jim Pomeroy, and that was the main class, and then the sport class was Zard, Pomeroy, and Savitsky, and they used to carry this horse trailer, and there'd be 11 bikes in, and every time it went somewhere, the 11 bikes were the wheels were all screwed up on this trailer, and they'd blow bearings out every 300 miles. I mean, it was crazy.
Were you driving it at the time?
No, we were following them, and we still. I mean, all it was a fifth wheel, and we followed. In fact, they had like this station wagon that we drove around and followed them behind them. Things have changed, Kenny. Let me just say that things have changed. Our first Bultaco ride we got for a Trans Am, and and Marty Tripes was on the team at that time. Our deal was $75 a parts, a gas card, and a list of every Bull Taco dealer on the circuit that we could go stay. And fortunately, some would take you to their house, and some, we took shower. We were Team Bull Taco, and we were taking showers behind their shop. I mean, it was pretty wild.
Even the riders?
Yeah, me and Savitsky, we were taking showers. We thought, fortunately, in St. Louis, with the Bill Taco dealer, took us to his house, and then we were, a couple places. It was better than being a factory guy. We'd go to the people's houses, and they'd make us all this great food. In fact, I believe I put on like 20 pounds that series.
Hey, let me ask you the next question here. What was the breakthrough for you and John? I know that he was a Yamaha guy, and I know you went. Did maybe I don't know. Did you go with him to Yamaha when he went to Yamaha? I know you worked at Yamaha.
What happened was this is the whole story. Is The reason that I'm still around and the reason that he ever got any kind of breaks was the Florida series. I'm a I'm a very good friend of Keith McCarty. In fact, I'm his daughter's godfather, and I got to be friends with Keith, and he let me sleep in his room. And Bob Hannon needed someone to train with, and Bob wanted somebody to hang out and train with that would wouldn't would make it more exciting than what it should be. Instead of just going the track and ride by yourself and the whole 9 yards. Um, so he picked Savitsky to be his riding friend.
So was
And
Keith was Bob's mechanic, correct?
yeah, Keith was Bob's mechanic, and what happened was we traveled around, and the one year Yamaha gave us a 250F, which was released at the Trans Am, and we got to ride that. We were the only. They gave us two bikes and hardly any parts, and then the next year we got Bob Hanna's works bikes from the year before. They had give us all the parts like a year old works bike. I believe that would have been like an OW 39 or something, and he had an OW 40.
What was his
You know,
first impression after getting off of the Bultaco and even riding just a regular Japanese bike at that time? Because I think the time changed pretty quick after that. Like when, in the mid 70s, early 80s, when I think the Japanese kind of surpassed the the European models. Was he like blown away, and did his speed just go to another level?
well, another guy before we ran into the Yamaha deal, Roger uh, helped us on Suzuki's, but the difference was incredible. I mean, at that time, Kenny, on a stock bike, you had like three adjustments on your spring, not on your shock. That was your adjustment, three adjustments: slow, medium, and hard. I mean, so there wasn't a lot. And when we got to and it was Kernox, and we used to call those Kerplunks, and then the Bilstein was a little shock that had gas in it, and that was. But then when we got to Suzuki and the Japanese, we were using KYB stuff that was really state of the art back then, and probably still is. And that the difference was incredible on just the riding styles changed. Bull tacos, you used to slide around because the rakes were out a little bit. You'd have to slide around turns on the outsides. With the Japanese bikes, you could start hitting inside lines. It was a lot different.
So when he got on that Yamaha, what how did his career, like, how long did you work for him when he was riding? You would call it a support ride from Yamaha.
About 3 years.
Did he?
About no, about 2 years, or 2 or 3 years, and we were still popping in the top 10. In fact, we'd make every Supercross main, and back then, you had 25 factory riders in the main events. For a
Wow.
privateer to make it in the main event, then it was something, and that's 25 works bikes. That was the elite of the elite, and we'd make Supercross mains, you know, and the thing is what happened was he uh, he kept getting that, and then he ended up going with a with the team called PDQ. You remember those? That was a Yamaha. I forget what brand it was, but he went with a PDQ, and that's when Yamaha asked me if I wanted to come with them. And he he had himself a nice ride with PDQ, and I turned down a couple jobs to stay with him till he was set. And at that time, he looked like he was set with PDQ, and Yamaha gave me a chance to be a mechanic.
And where did you go from that? Who did you work for?
I worked for Cantalupe, Donnie Cantalupe,
So Donnie
and
Cantalupe is from California, I believe, Sacramento, up at that area.
he's from Stockton.
Oh, okay.
And he was hired to race the 125 classes, and him and Scotty Burnsworth. By then, I believe Brock has already. Well, Brock was there too, and at that time Yamaha had like a 7-man race team, and I went from a working on stock motorcycles to the first water cools in America.
How were those bikes? I heard so many different things about that bike. Was that an 81 water cooled? Was that the first year they came out, or were you? Do you have,
80 or 81.
so
And
you probably had a pre-pro one, like a pre-production 80 was
oh
probably.
yeah, no, ours was a full on works bike. I
Yeah.
mean, it was.
Is that what
I
the
mean, our,
radiator on the handlebars?
that was the radiator right up on the handlebars, and the water system ran through your. It ran through the steering stem. In fact, in the steering stem, there was probably 6 or 8 O-rings that you put it together blind. You just put a little grease on there and shoved it up there and hoped everything was in place.
Yeah, that sounds
It was,
familiar.
yeah, yeah, and it was definitely something different. I mean, we've that was. I guess we were the first ones with a water cool, I believe, in America.
Yeah, I think so,
Yamaha.
and I could see where Yamaha got the idea about running the oil cooled 4-stroke through the frame. I think
Hmm.
that's where they went back to their idea of the water cool system. But so how long did that relationship last with Danny?
Uh, Me and Donnie worked
Donnie, sorry.
together for 2 years, and then he had a 2-year contract. And unfortunately, that was the time when Yamaha, not Yamaha, but the motorcycle industry was on a little bit of a downslide. There was the recession, and I think all the car manufacturers were giving all these great deals, and people were buying cars. And the problem was is Yamaha went from a 7-man race team down to a 4-man race team. And what they did was I ended up not having a rider, but then they ended up on having like one truck that carried all the parts in it and a welder and this whole just to keep control of the parts and stuff. And that's how I ended my career with Yamaha. They did major cutbacks, and then the next year they decided not to have a parts truck.
Let's go back to the intimate sign of Let Brock Buy. That's a world famous sign in our industry. People look at
Well,
that.
there was a picture just floating around with.
Yeah,
I
and
don't know if you saw.
you're in that picture.
Yeah, I'm standing in the background there.
So I wanted you to maybe talk about. I'm sure you and Keith, since you guys are good friends, and Keith's a great guy. I know Keith very well too, and he's a very outspoken gentleman, and
Right.
he'll tell you how it is. And I think his rider, who I've had on this show, and it was really cool to have Bob on this show,
Right.
because I became really good friends with Eddie Cole throughout the years, and Eddie was cool enough to get Bob on. And
Yeah.
if you could elaborate on that a little bit, I'd love to hear what really was going on when you guys were standing next to each other when that whole thing came up, because everyone just knows about the sign, but I don't think really people really know what's going on.
Well, it was. It took a lot of laps before you know uh, Keith put the sign out. He didn't want to put the sign out, obviously, and obviously Bob didn't want to pull over either. Or let him by, and it was like coming and coming and coming, and I think finally the team manager comes and says, "Hey, you got to put that sign out." And the obvious misspelling of the word "by," you know what I mean, and so it was a tough thing, very tough. I don't know if Bob told you this, but after the race, he just drove right off, never came back to the truck, and went right to the far end of the track and sat there for about an hour before he came back. That's how mad he was that he had to do that. So it was. It wasn't like we were talking, "Hey, when are you going to do it, Keith," or anything like that. It was just happened, you
Did
know.
did 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 after it was all done, when you were back at the truck, was Keith all, man? Bob's pissed.
Well, he's worked for Yamaha, and they wanted to do that, and it was the first time it's ever been done, but it's been done a few times now in the past, So
Yeah.
I
Do you
mean, it
think?
set a
Did,
precedence.
yeah, for sure. Did Yamaha give Bob the bonus for winning that race? Did they pay him and say, "Hey, we know you were going to win that race"?
Well, I think Bob went up there, and I believe it wasn't a preset thing, but I believe he talked about it afterwards and got the bonus money and all that other stuff. But if you know Bob Hanna, that bonus money did meant absolutely nothing to him. You know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. He's been pretty vocal about the end of his career at Yamaha. About just how it all went down, and you know how he rode really bad bikes, and how if he thinks he would have been on
Well, the
this.
one year they asked him to race the 125 because it wasn't exactly the best bike, and he did it, for him. And by then, I think he was a little wiser, and he said, "Well, then you best give me my championship bonus up front," that kind of stuff. That because he knew he could do much better on the other bikes, but Yamaha wanted to win some races, and Bob, you know, put it on the line that he'd do it. You know, I guess they figured Bob was worth about 5 or 6 more horsepower. I don't know.
Speaking of Bob, do you got any? I'm sure you have a handful of stories. Can you break me off a couple, just top of your head, funny moments with Bob Hanna? Because I could see you two guys together, and I could hear some really funny shit going down.
Well, let me put it this, uh, when he was living up in Sun Valley, Idaho, I was up there with him. This is when he was I believe he was retired. Yeah, he was retired then, and I was working for a goggle company, and I was up at his house. They were both based in Sun Valley, Idaho. It's no secret I was with Scott Goggles for 30 years. So but I was up there, and we're sitting there, and he had Haagen-Dazs ice cream. He loved Haagen-Dazs ice cream, and I said to him, I go, Bob, I'm on a diet now. I'm not really eating any ice cream or anything. And so first night, he goes to bed early. I stayed up a little late. I kind of ate one of them, you know. And but so basically, I ate like 4 of his Haagen Dazs ice creams. All right. And on day 5, I'm at his house, and he goes, boy, he used to call me Buddha. He goes, boy, Buddha, you're a really good guy. I mean, here you are. You're really serious about this diet. I said, He said, I think I'm going to have some ice cream. Well, I said, I think I better go downtown right now, get something. What I was doing was, because he'd wake up every morning and come down and fill the containers, right? Well, I was filling them up with water and freezing them. So it looked like I wasn't eating any ice cream. All I heard as he opened the thing, I was halfway out the door, and he goes, "You fat rat, you!" I mean, and then Bob is a real clean freak, and like all the racers seem to be.
Totally.
And and I was up his house one day, and we're eating breakfast, and it's the same thing with Jeff Stanton when I stayed at his house. You know, you're eating at their table, and they have like a rag in their hand. If something goes on the table, they immediately just wipe it off, right? So I'm eating a piece of toast, and he's like, brushing the table off. You get a couple of crumbs with toast. I don't want you to think I'm a total slob, but you just get some crumbs. So finally, I just said, "Hey," I walked over, sat down, had a dustbuster, and put it underneath my chin, and ate the toast with a dustbuster running. I mean, he's quite the character. I mean, people didn't really know the real Bob Hanna. Bob Hanna was a fun guy. I mean, we'd have eating contests all the time. One of the other funny stories with him is Larry Myers. One time we went and we were at the Pontiac Superdome, and we knew Larry Myers was in his hotel room, right? And what we did is Jan Huntley, her boyfriend, uh, ran the security. So we borrowed a couple security uniforms and went down to Myers's room, a hotel, went up to the front desk, walked in and says, "Hey, Larry Myers' room, we need to talk to him about an issue." So we go running down to his room, put our hats on, knocking on the door. Larry comes out, we pull him out, we're putting handcuffs on him, and guess what happens? Pontiac's police department comes rolling through the lot right then, and they go, "Hey, do you guys need any backup?" And we said, "No, we got this under control."
That's
But
awesome.
he was a pretty much of a prankster, let me tell you. I don't know if he ever told you the story about when one of the racers like took a you know how racers are, they always screw with each other, right? One of the racers
Wait, kind of like Reed and Dungy last week.
no, this was at a testing. One of the racers decided that he was going to go to the bathroom and put it in a bag and hide it in Hannah's truck, because at that time everybody had their own truck, right?
Yeah.
Well, he found out who did that, and he was at a Daytona race. And at Daytona, if you didn't make it in for tech, you weren't supposed to ride that day. That was an AMA rule. Okay. So what Bob did was he had a gut remover and took out air the air stem in three of his tires and put the uh, the key and the stems on his hood and said, and when he saw him, he said, "You should never do that to me again. Put stuff in my truck."
Oh, so we let all the air out of his tires.
Oh yeah, left them all out.
Did the guy make it to the race?
Yeah, yes, but it was just at the nick of time,
Crazy.
you know. So that's just kind of the stuff that we used to do. And I'll tell you what he used to do. One of his secrets was after he won a race. Sometimes he'd go like Sunday during the Sunday after the race. If he won, he'd go buy the as more junk food than you can imagine. Just to take a bite out of this stuff. Sort of like when I saw Ricky Carmichael one day, his reward for winning the race was a biscotti in the morning. I go, wow, and he was holding on it like it was gold.
That's crazy. So how after you were done with Yamaha, how did you end up doing the goggle service?
Well, like I said, back then they went from a four-man team, and I was driving a truck, and then when they got rid of the truck, I ended up uh, I ended up going up to visit Hannah, and he says I was going to be like the first official man friend of this industry, right? He says to me, he goes, "Listen, he obviously, he's a pilot and stuff." He says, "I'll take a seat out of the back, and we'll fly to all the races, and I'll give you $10,000 to be my buddy, or just for money." And I looked at him. I said, "Well, tell you the truth, Bob, I'm pretty much not into that." And I was up there, and a guy, Bill Larson, at the time was with Scott, and he just said, "Hey, would you like to come work for us?" And I was there for a long period of time
Yeah,
until I.
like I said in my intro, Beeve, I really believe that you and Scott were kind of the innovators of rider service because there was never, I mean, I can remember, the first time I ever went to a supercross race. We got to town the day before and I seen the Scott van, in front of some Mexican restaurant in San Jose. And I was like, Kyle, whoa, there's a Scott van. I was with Kyle Lewis because he was a really good buddy growing up.
All right.
And he's like, oh, that's Bevo. He's the Scott guy. I go, well, what do you mean the Scott guy? Why is that van here? And he goes, oh, he does the goggles. And that was back in the day when I remember you came by because that's when Scott had those lever covers, if you remember those, like the
Yeah.
little things that went over for gripping. And
Right.
I used to think like, man, that's a cool job just to walk around and see the top riders and just give them product.
Well, let's say back then it was I ended up having a bunch of racers, and at one time I was probably building, you know, 150 goggles to go
Wow.
to the races.
Every week, right?
And yeah, every week, take
So
them home, wash them, and put a new lens in, and go for it. And at that time, lenses tear-offs weren't as easy to put on. Fortunately, I wasn't there when they had six tear-offs that were in six different positions.
yeah,
But it was quite a task, and but it's hard. The thing is, Kenny, when I did that, I did it. I'd go to Larry Myers taught me probably the best thing when about being a rep. Okay, I went to a amateur race with him. It was the Florida Winter Olympics, and we're walking through the pits, and we don't even walk. We can't even walk 3 feet without somebody come up and saying, "Hi, Larry. Hi, Larry. Hi, Larry." And I go, "Wow, that's pretty cool." And he goes, "Well, you come down here, you'll get to know these people, and you'll get a loyalty that you won't believe." And of course, that's pre-business agents, okay? And we went down there, and I got to know all these guys like Bradshaw, Stanton, you name it, Kurdowski, LaRocco, all of the guys. And basically, they all decided not to. They were turning down huge amounts of money to stay with Scott and myself. And for in fact, I probably started the other companies going down there because they weren't getting anybody. I mean, you'd go back in the old days and look at the starting line. All the top guys that I found in the amateur ranks were still with Scott
yeah. I
in the
mean, if you
pro
go down
ranks.
that line, you got McGrath, you got Ryan Hughes, you got Jeff Emick, Ricky Carmichael. Was James Stewart ever one of your guys?
Yes, he was one. That's when the other branch started coming down there, and they were pulling out a little bit of money, and
Yeah,
I never believed that in that because I I thought that when a young rider would make a mistake, it would be more of pressure on him because it's like he was helping pay for the all the bills. And I've seen a lot of growing through a lot of the amateur stuff. I saw a lot of people like get a little too angry at their children. Oh, how's that for an answer?
that's awesome. You
You know,
like saying that you've been around a while is an understatement, but what's your take on the whole sports agents now? Like I have my take on it, but I'd like to hear it from a guy like you that's been around when the riders handled their stuff. So, and I'm a firm believer. That's the way I feel. Like a rider should build a relationship with his sponsors, so he could, build longevity with a brand and call the guy and know who they are. Nowadays, these guys don't even know, who the guy is unless he hands them to the race and knows the rider service guy, but he won't know the guy behind the brand.
well, the thing that my take on managers is I'll give you a classic example is one of the racers was moving from like the lights class to the 450 class, and that's a real stepping stone. You know that as well as I do. And he started telling me how much the racer was worth to me. And I just asked him one simple question. I didn't know you were in our budget meetings. I didn't know you know how much we spend per goggle on a rider, and you're asking for way too much money. And unfortunately, that's the problem is if managers were there and they were managing the guy, that you would say, "Hey, I need him at an open house," and he'd be there. That would be a whole different story. But it seems to me that a lot of the if once the deals are done, you don't see people that you were telling you how much they were going to do for you.
Yeah, I
So
I agree.
you know, I don't regret paying a racer, but everyone has how much the racer generate for you in the end. It's that's why you sponsor him, so he will generate back sales. And if the marketplace doesn't justify it, how can you pay that money? And that's the thing that you could say, hey, it's on TV now, it's here, it's there, it's everywhere. If you're not a mainstream company, what does that do for you?
Yeah, I think the bottom line is the ROI, the return on the investment, and being in the goggle business for a blink of my eye for a few years, um, I got to see, and I worked at that end of the spectrum where I got to see the marketing side, the business side, the product, the production side, and what it costs to make a goggle and what it costs to send a guy to the races and all of that. So saying that, when you get a rider and you're saying, hey, I'm going to pay you, blank amount of money, you have to take into perspective that, hey, this is how much the goggle costs. This is how much the lens costs. This is how much it's going to cost to build them. And riders, and I don't think people really realize that there's a bottom line there. Okay, you want $20,000. Well, we're going to have to spend at least $5,000 to $7,000 in product to get you through the year. So now we're at 27,000, and now you want this, you want service at the races. So now we're going to have to spend another $20,000. So I mean, I think it's a big, big, big thing that people need to realize, and that it's just not, some of these people nowadays are like, a perfect example I look at it is like gear, people with riding gear. They're all, oh, I don't get my gear for free, but they give me 3 sets a weekend. That's all they do for me. I'm all, wait a minute, that's all they do for you? Okay, if you go online and see how much a full set of gear costs, you're looking at about $400 to $500 a set just for pants, gloves, and jersey. So
Or to your local dealer.
exactly. So you times that by 17 by 3, it's up there. So
Right.
you can't look. These guys cannot look at it like that. And getting back to the agents, I think there's some good guys out there that have done really well for their guys and get those guys a lot of money and do what they need to do. But I think there's a lot of people that take advantage of these guys, and they're out there. And what I try to tell these guys is just be aware. Know your surroundings, and I think some of these people let too much riffraff in their camps, and I think the guys are getting a lot better than they did back in the day, because I think in the late '90s, like in the mid '90s to late '90s to the early 2000s, there was a lot of hangers-oners. You know what I mean? There was a lot of guys that would just show up and, that were friends with, I used to call them, I'm bros with the pros. I know them all, and
Uh-huh.
that's not cool to me. But, I just wanted to get your input on that part of it. But so when you left Scott, did you have your new position all lined up already, or did you leave there for a while and then jump on board?
No, it was pretty. I was basically. I'll tell you, it wasn't as happy ending as I wish it could have been. You know, uh, I never had any thoughts of ever working for anybody else, but you know, I just they just at the end it was sort of like I don't know, just I didn't feel like anybody. I don't know if we call it appreciated what I could do or whatever, or if they thought I was too old or didn't have any ideas, or my motor was running low or something. And I told my wife I was going to retire after I had a conversation with one of the gentlemen up there, and it wasn't even like a couple days later. I mean, Ludo called me and to come work for 100%, and it's been it's in my 6th year there, and it's been a pretty darn incredible ride for me personally, and for our company also. I mean, and then another sweet thing that happened is they hired my son John, who obviously uh, John Kuzo to do the service, and I guess he graduated from Bevo U, just like John Knowles did, and he's carried the service end of it to a great level, and I'm as happy as a lark.
Right on. So what's your position now? I know that you're kind of a brand ambassador, but I do see you at dealerships periodically. Are you still visiting those dealers on a regular basis? I know that you're definitely still an icon in the pits. But one thing I like about you, like I seen you in Daytona, and you're still that guy handing out stickers and standing in the midway, talking to people, and you're not just hiding out, and that's something I really respect you for.
Well, I guess when I got hired, they asked me to be. I guess I started the new term ambassador because I guess Andrew Short's an ambassador for Honda now, and so maybe I've created a new position out there for people. But Kenny, it's easy. It's easy to when you love what you're doing and you're happy that you're there. It's easy. And I have I have always I always try to talk and deal with people like I like to be like if I know them. I mean, you can't believe how many people come up to me and go, "Do you remember me? You gave me a pair of goggles at the mini Olympics or something, or Loretta Lynn's, like when I was 10." And I look at the guy and he's like 40, and I'm going, "Wait a second, I'm not that old." But I enjoy people. I mean, I like joking with them, and I like talking to them, and that's part of the deal when you're in my position. Like there's places I'll go. One time I was at a race in Daytona, hare scrambles. Dave Coombs was putting one on, and it was all natural. And we were standing out there, and that's Dave Coombs Senior, and we were standing out there in the middle of a cow field, and and this guy comes up to me and goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, "There's motorcycles here, isn't there? There's people here. That's why I'm here." You know,
That's
so
awesome.
so this week I was at a motorcycle shop, and I MC sometimes at motorcycle shops, and it's sort of like even you. I see you at the races. I looked at your setup this week. I looked at it and I go, wow, you guys are rocking over there. In fact, I said to John, I go, wow, those are great speakers they have blasting over there. I mean, you guys do a good job too. I mean, you're on the PA. You know how it is.
Yeah,
People think that you're untouchable,
yeah,
and if you show them that you're not, I mean, you meet some nice people.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I'll tell you a little funny story. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. I was at Redbud, and that's when they inducted you into the Redbud Hall of Fame. And um, Tim Ritchie was standing next to me, and I look over at him, Junior, and I go, "Tim, you're really inducting Bevo into the Redbud Hall of Fame?" He said, "Yep, we sure are." And I said, "Really? Why?" And he goes, "Do you know how much respect my dad had for that man?" And he goes, "Soon as you can get as much credibility and have done as much as he did for this industry, we will think about inducting you." And I looked at him and I said, "Fair enough."
Well, I'm happy to hear that, and I have a picture of Gene on my desk.
Yeah, Gene was an awesome dude, and also I remember I want to say it was Atlanta when the Legends and Heroes did something special for you too, and I mean this isn't by coincidence. I mean you're definitely you know paid your dues and did what you had to do, and really believe like guys like you have laid the ground level for people that are coming up and to help build the sport to where it's at.
Well, I slept on a lot of floors and took a lot of showers in under hoses at motorcycle shops, and I don't regret one day of the motorcycle industry. I mean, it's been like I said, it's something I feel like I've gone through life without a job. How's that?
Yeah, well they always say find something you like
It,
to do, and it's never a job.
yeah, I mean, and it is. I mean, it's a fun deal, and I've been fortunate enough to not only be a privateer mechanic, I've been a factory mechanic. I've worked for a goggle company as a rep. You know, I've I've been involved with sales and marketing, and I've been fortunate enough to touch almost every aspect of this industry. If I could spell better, I'd also be in the publications, but my spelling isn't that well. Good.
All right, let's close it at this. My last question for you is where I know the sport has grown, but if there is one thing that you can change about the sport the way it is today, what would you change?
Uh, I think the one thing that I think is that I really like two strokes. Okay. I really like that, but that's something that's out of the question of me changing. But I would really like to see. Uh, I guess I would like to see more progression in the way we bring riders into the professional ranks. How's that?
Okay. Do you have any ideas, or that's just the you're saying the Ricky?
I would just like to see when the class structures are made for the right reasons.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. I thought you were going to say something else, but I was way
Well,
off.
tell me what you thought I was going to say.
I thought when I asked you if we can make one change in the sport, what would you want to change? And I thought you were going to say John Gallagher.
And no, no, no. You know, that's something that came with a big argument many years ago between AMA and some promoters, and that's why the FIM is involved. I just think that there's a lot of things that are there's there's a lot of real good things about our sport, and the thing that I would like to see, like I was saying, is I would just like to see that the way we introduce young riders into our sport is a lot different than it is today.
Yeah, I was just joking about John. He has a really tough job. Really, really,
Right.
really, really, really tough job. Damn it
Oh,
if you.
anybody that has to tell a multi-million-dollar guy and can make a decision that could cost the company a bunch of money, that's a tough decision.
Yeah, yeah. You know,
You know.
my only beef with the whole thing is, like you said, a lot of these teams, including the team that I work with, are multi-million dollar operations, and you have a guy making a decision that isn't a full time guy, and he has a normal 9 to 5 job during the week, and then on the weekends he comes to the races, and he's going to make that call. I really think, but that's the way it is. I don't know if there's budget to pay a guy full time or what the deal is, but that's
Uh,
here to say. But that's just the way I feel, and I've had my differences with him over the years. But he does have a tough position, and away from the track, at the hotel bar or in a restaurant or whatever. John Gallagher's a money guy. He's a super good dude. But
mhm.
when he gets to the track and he throws that shirt on, we're talking to a different man. So
Right.
I got all the respect in the world for him, but he has a job that they couldn't pay me enough to do.
Well, it's a what do they call that, a meaningless job or whatever. That It's a no respect job, first of all, because it's just a tough job. I mean, I've known a lot of the guys that were decision makers like that, and they're all nice guys. But if you ever talk to anybody else, hey, they're this or that. But it's a tough position, and I'm glad I'm sort of in the fun part of the industry myself.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't, I just, I just, like I said, I just go there, do what I have to do, and leave. I mean, I very rarely speak my piece, you know,
yeah,
because I feel that my job is to go there and promote my 100% to my best ability, and that's what I do. I try to do that every time, no matter. Let's just say when I put on my 100% hat at the races, I'm a 100% guy. You remember when you were in the goggle business, you used to say I used to be all over you because you were a darn good gorilla. What do they call that? Marketing guy.
Yeah, well, I'm still there, Bevo. I'm under a new
I
umbrella.
understand it.
I'm under
No,
a new umbrella now.
I take my hat off to you, Kenny. I've watched you when you guys put something together. You don't leave a loose end. You guys look at everything. You use every second of that race, not only on the racetrack but in the pits to promote, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for saying that. That means a lot coming from you. And, I just want to say thank you for your time, Bevo. I know that I'm really, really, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I'm really honored that you would do this. And I hope everyone really enjoys this because I think that, you have a story that a lot of people want to hear. And I know that, there's people that listen to these things that have been around a long time and they love to hear about, the old stories, man. So, thank you again, and we'll see you this weekend. And safe travels, my friend.
Yep, and hey, you got my number.
All right, Beav.
Anytime you want to talk, you call me.
All right, take care, my friend.
Yep, bye.
Bye. Last but not least, I would like to thank all the people that make this happen for us. Thank you very much. I would like to thank Team Elite, Cocopa Casino and Resort, Ron's In Your Ear Audio, X Brand, Words Connection, Hart and Huntington Tattoo, Guts Racing, and last but not least, you, the people. Thank you very much for listening. Keep on keeping on. Talk to you soon.
Well, I drank 30 beers for breakfast, cause I'm a bro. And I took a dirt bike to Glamis, cause I'm a bro. I didn't jump one fucking jump, cause I'm a bro. I just talked about the river, cause I'm a bro. And crushing demons of dirt, cause I'm a bro. I got posters of Vin Diesel, cause he's my favorite bro. And I punch my friends in the arm, because we're bros. Well, I lifted my truck up to the sky, cause I'm a bro. Cause I'm a bro. I give millions to the industry, even though it's run by the Japanese, cause I'm a bro. Flame tattoos, revving my dirt bike. I talk shit all the time. If your truck is smaller than mine, cause I'm a bro. Well, I've got black socks and sideburns, cause I'm a bro. I bleached my hair and I spiked it, cause I'm a bro.